Hi, I'm Tim Sparks. Welcome to Postmodern Fingerstyle Blues Guitar. So what is postmodern fingerstyle blues guitar? Well, it's a very eclectic approach to music, but we live now in a very eclectic world where many different parts of the world are connected culturally. So there's elements of blues, of jazz, music from Europe and North Africa, Middle Eastern music, Jewish klezmer music. You'll get a whole different kind of perspective on how to interpret it. I've selected 8 of my favorite tunes to work through with you. We're going to start with How Great Thou Art. A blues study in drop D tuning. A few bowls Turkish. Little Princess. Mississippi Blues. Oriental Blues. Oh Daddy, That's Good. And Wayfaring Stranger. In this course, you're going to find some pieces that are frankly going to be very challenging, and you're going to take some time and some practice and commitment. But feel free to cannibalize them. Take out the parts that work for your particular style. An arrangement like Mississippi Blues, it's got lots of great turnarounds, lots of great riffs. It's like an encyclopedia of cool ideas. Okay, enough of me talking. Grab your guitar and get comfortable, and we'll do some postmodern fingerstyle blues. I'm going to explain some interesting points about playing this version of the old gospel standard, How Great Thou Art. The first thing I'm going to do is play a very simple, straightforward version of the song very slowly. Okay, that was the first part of How Great Thou Art, the A section. Then we go to the refrain, the B section. An interesting thing about this arrangement is I'm playing in drop D, so I've tuned my 6th string E down to D, so it matches the 4th string. And an interesting wrinkle here is that I'm going to play in the key of G in drop D, so that means that the 5th of G, D will be here in my bass, and that gives me some very interesting orchestrating possibilities. It also changes the shapes of the chords. So chords, here's what our G chord looks like, because we have to go up a whole step from where normally our note would be. So normally a G would look like this. Here is our G now. This is B minor 7. This would be C major 7, A minor 7. This is B flat or A sharp diminish. This is G. This is D sus, D7. See how pretty that is? Very rich. So now I'm going to play the B section. We start with a D sus chord. a D7 chord. So I'm making a bar here at the 5th fret. The melody line is being fretted by my 4th finger at the 7th fret. There's a B7 chord at the bar at the 7th fret. Now I'm going to explain some ways in which I'm elaborating and decorating this simple melody. Some influences in my arrangement of this song are my experiences growing up in North Carolina and hearing both white and black gospel music. So I'm going to toss in some bluesy, gospel-y sounding scales, dancing around the basic structure of the melody. And in general, since we kind of know the melody of the song, I'm going to be embellishing it more and playing with it more. Here's a common scale I'm going to use, and it's a kind of a country blues scale. So I might do like this. That's the basic melody. Now here's how I embellish it. I have a partial bar of my 1st finger on the 3rd fret. Doing a hammer on. Here I find a blues lick. I might also go to this line. Now what I'm doing is I'm moving through the G country blues scale through the voicing. So I'm starting here on a G shape. Then I'm going to an A shape. Then I'm going to a C shape. To a D shape. To a G shape. To an E shape. Down to a G shape. So let's look at that again. We start G, A, C, D, E, G. So these are all G chords, but their shapes are based on their first position versions. So it's G, then we're an E shape of G on the bar on the 3rd fret. Then we have a D shape of G barred on the 5th fret. Then we have a C shape of G where our partial bars on the 7th fret. Then we have an A shape of G where the bar is kind of a double stop. Your third finger is making on the 12th fret, and your first finger is on the 10th fret. And then we're here again, a bar at the 12th fret to make a partial G shape. So my blues licks are kind of filling in those zones. I'll do that one more time. We'll start off in now watch how I use my first and second finger shift to create my position for playing. First finger moves down. I've tuned my guitar into standard tuning, and I'm going to explain a principle that I found that students really love to do. Most common problem I find in students I've taught is you learn scales, and you're playing along, and suddenly you don't know where you are. And I've always worked from a principle that scales and chords are two sides of the same coin. So here's a way for you to get a handle on the whole fretboard and always and have a system for kind of always having an idea of where you are when you're playing. So it starts out with a country blues scale that's kind of a blend of minor and major blues sounds. We're going to play in G. And we're going to play this country blues scale. We're going to play it in the 5 first position keys: G, E, D, C, and A. So let's play the scale in G. A little tip about this is as I go through the scale, I'll keep my first finger placed here, and it acts as a kind of a nice little anchor while I'm doing a series of pull-offs as the scale moves down the neck. That's kind of important because it kind of gives my hand a little anchor. When I'm playing guitar, I'm always looking for those little anchors of places where you place one finger between two consecutive chords, or while you're playing a riff, or finding your place as you move from one part of a song to another, and that's an important principle. So here again is the G scale. Now we're going to play a blues scale in E. Now we're going to play it in D. Do that again very slowly. If you're new to this pull-off technique, let me show you a little tip. A pull-off is not like a classical guitar slur. You're actually going to slightly pull the string down and slightly pluck it almost with your left-hand finger. It gives a lot more of a percussive pop to it. We've done G, E, D. Now we're going to do C. And then we do A. So the first thing to do is to familiarize yourself with these first position country blues scale voicings. Then we're going to transpose them up the neck. The technique to do this is you start with G, first position. Then we're going to transpose the E shape. We're going to play an E shape of G at the 3rd fret. So all the open string notes will be fretted. The next one is a D shape of G. This is a D shape of G at the 5th fret. The next one is a C shape of G. There's your G. It's fretted on the 5th string at the 10th fret. Then we're going to play an A shape of G. Still using that G at the 10th fret, 5th string. And then we end up with G again here, way up on the 15th, 12th frets. So you can work down the neck this way. Watch as I pass through each of these 5 chord shapes, starting with G. So here's a lick I use in the version I recorded for you of How Great Thou Art. Okay, so once again, as I demonstrated in my little tutorial on playing the country blues scale through the G, E, D, C, A shapes, this is once again using the same idea. That's how I do. Okay, now I'm going to move on to some chordal concepts that we're using in this song. I find that using this, playing in drop D and G gives me ability to catch some really beautiful, rich chords that many of which are just made up of 3 notes, played on the 6th, 5th, and 4th string. So we have this beautiful, there's There's a B minor 7. I have to do some interesting double stops to make the chords I'm doing here. Here's a good example. I'm going to voice the melody in an open E string while playing a partial bar on the 4th and 3rd strings as this melody passes through. And this is a kind of an odd shape of a diminished chord. We'll do that again. Okay. Another thing I do is turnarounds. I'm using pedal tones. Now, pedal tones can be played on the bottom, or the top note, or the middle note. And a pedal tone is basically a note that is common to a series of chords. For example, when I play a couple different turnarounds in this song, we go... The traditional turnaround would have been... So I'd go G, E, A, D. Here we're going to go G7, G major 7. So we're going to go chromatically down G major 7, G flat major 7, F major 7, E. Bear in mind we're in drop D, so that's why my E has to be played on the 2nd fret of the 6th string. This is a F. Then I've got an E flat major 7. Then a D sus. Then a D7. You notice that all those chords, I have a D in the top. So it's kind of like if you're rotating a multifaceted gem, and you pick up different colors as the light as you twist the light. So that's kind of the same principle when you're using a pedal tone. I'll do that again. One more time. Another place where I play a pedal tone comes where I go. One more time. G, G flat, F, E. Another device I use that's interesting is I play some chords in the style of Lenny Breau, which use inversions in the bass, mostly of a 3rd or a 7th. And the parent progression is something like D minor, G, C, F, B, E, A minor, D, G. Now I'm going to have this D going as a pedal throughout the whole progression, and here's how the shapes look. Pretty, isn't it? Now, one of the principles of these Lenny Breau chords say you're playing in the key of A blues. Years ago, I was watching Herb Ellis play in a club, and he was playing with Barney Kessel and Charlie Bird, and they were playing a blues. And Herb Ellis did this beautiful device. He was comping a part in a blues in, let's say it was in A, and here's what his blues comping looked like. So he was just implying the entire chord of an A7 chord to a D7 chord, but it's just using these two notes. So he's playing the 7th and the 3rd of A. Then it becomes the 3rd and 7th of D. Then it becomes the 3rd and 7th of E, 3rd and 7th of D, 7th and 3rd of A. So if we take this idea of this inversion, we move it to the 4th and 5th strings. You see, I'm getting the same kind of shape moving through these chords. Now, if you get used to using these kinds of shapes, then it helps you also to understand what's going on in the introduction of the song. Again, I play start out on a pedal tone. Then I play some harmonics using these Lenny Bro chord shapes. You'll see once again, they have this. These are the same kind of 7th, 3rd kind of shapes, and then straight ahead bar shapes, which are basically sus chords. You might begin by just playing the shapes without the harmonic. Do that again. Later on, you can add the harmonics, which the technique is you pluck. I'm plucking the 3rd string on my middle finger, then playing the harmonic on the 5th string, and then I keep that relationship as I move up and down. Pluck, harmonic, pluck, harmonic, pluck, harmonic. So to recap, the chords I'm using start off with an A minor, or actually this is a D sus chord, and it's essentially a bar at the 5th fret. When I say sus chord, this is a chord that became very popular around the time of jazz players like Miles Davis. Pianists who worked with Miles Davis, like Bill Evans, use this kind of sound a lot. Herbie Hancock. It's very open sound, and lends itself to kind of modal jazz playing, because you can play a lot of different scales over it. In guitar, it's very easy to play. It's just a bar. I was told by a flamenco guitarist that they have a term for a chord. They say play a flat chord, And they don't mean there's anything flat in it. They just mean a flat chord, like it's just a bar. So we have a D sus chord, and we go up to an F sus chord. Now that's really a wild card here, but I'd call that an F sharp 9 with a 7th in the bass. Go down a half a flat, half a step, and then you're in an F9 with E flat in the bass. Back to your D sus, then to a D9 with the 7th with the C in the bass. Now, one point about all these Lenny-Broish chords, you have to get used to doing double stops with your 2nd and 3rd finger. So you'll notice I'm fretting the in this case I'm fretting the 4th and 3rd string with my 2nd finger. So if we go back to that progression that's in How Great Thou Art, we got. Notice here I have a double stop with my 2nd finger. There's a double stop. There's a big one there, so I'm double stopping 3 notes on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. Also in the introduction of the first series of chords in the introduction of the song where I go. This is actually a D7 chord. But it's got the 7th in the bass, 3rd, 6th, and then a flat 9. Here's D9. There's a D flat 9. And you do that with a double stop with your 3rd finger. So in closing, I'm going to play one more time a basic version of this song for you, and maybe it's good to start with this version and then build with the different ideas of embellishment, and also learning the performance version, which has all the bells and whistles. We're going to do a study I created with this course in mind, and it's I'll call it a blues study in D. It's in drop D tuning, It has a kind of a New Orleans-ish kind of bass line feel, kind of syncopated. It's based on tunes, a structure that you would hear in songs like Sitting on Top of the World, How Long Blues, You Got to Move. So it's really more like a 16-bar structure than a 12-bar structure. And it's rather improvisatory in quality. And I'm trying to mimic the sound of a kind of a barrel house piano, maybe someone like Memphis Slim, in my guitar. That's pretty hard to get a piano stuffed into your guitar. Okay, so melodically we're in D and drop D. So our kind of our scale you're going to be using a lot is this that we learned in our little study of G, E, D, C, A major minor blues scales. So we're going to kind of, we're shifting our orientation. And we started out in G, now we're in D, so it's going to go differently a little bit. We're going to start with D shape, to a C shape of D. Okay, to an A shape of D. To an A shape of D. Okay. That's coming out of A. See that A7 looking shape there? I have to fret that note that would normally be. And then we're going to, at one point, grab it up here. So we're going to grab a E shape of D off of the 10th fret. Those are some of our reference points. I'll do that again. So we're going to grab some blues licks off of different points based on these chord shapes. We're going to grab a little bit of the E shape of D at the 10th fret. We're going to grab a little bit of the A shape of D off of the 5th fret. A little bit of the C shape of D down to the D shape of D. Now rhythmically we're going to use a pattern. It's kind of got a New Orleans-ish quality. Its underlying feel is that of 6/8 against 4. So you got a pulse of 6/8, and you got to feel this. You got a pulse of 4, and you got to feel the 6/8 against it. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So like pat with your thumb, and then count the 6/8 against it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to show you a little pattern now that frames out this kind of bluesy bass line where we express this pattern. I'm going to take that kind of boogie-woogie bass line, and I'm going to play another version of it that occurs in this study that brings out the quality of the 6/8 even more. There's spots, notice, where there are pull-offs. Pull-offs and hammer-ons are important to give them the flow to this thing. Hammer-on. Pull off, hammer on. That's the same thing. A lot of hammer pull-offs there. Hammer on, pull off, pull off. The way this all comes together into this song is I can get a nice feeling of playing a bass line against the melody. I'm not going to play the whole pattern. I'm going to take just a part of it to imply the pattern. Remember, the original pattern was more like... But I'm going to do something more like this. Also, I'm going to be playing this a lot with my thumb. So you're going to have to get used to doing that. See how I kind of blend my melody and my bass line together, but it creates a nice arc that gives you a total feeling of complexity. Do that again. see some of the things that happened there. We start out in D. Now we're in a D sus, G, back to D. Then a G minor. And then we have the old Delta blues cadence. This descending note is on the 5th string starting at the 3rd fret. Okay? Try all that together. Now notice also that sometimes I grab this note with my thumb, depending on what I'm playing up here. Sometimes I grab it with my 2nd or 3rd finger. So. I might want to grab some of these higher notes. This is an idea I got from Lightnin' Hopkins. So when I go, I'll try that much again. So we start out here with the 1st finger on the 1st string, 10th fret. We're going to bend. This is classic kind of blues bend where 2nd and 3rd fingers are going to bend up toward an octave. And then we're going to go down here. This is in our A shape of D again. So you're going to have your note bent up and bring it down. So to prepare this, you're going to have your 1st finger also fretted 2nd string, 6th fret. Okay? Now this part, play this figure again. So this is like working upward and playing a 6. So you got your 2nd and 1st finger on the 4th and 2nd strings. Same thing again, but you got to have the 1st finger preparing it and staying fretted. Now we throw in a little thing that's a little reminiscent of our cadence from How Great Thou Art. Same thing, you've got the D has the pedal tone of the top, got D7, G, G minor, D. What in the world is that? That's like a F diminished, E, E flat, D. Just to recap everything, I'll play a very slow version and try to incorporate the ideas of this arrangement. I'm going to do a performance and explanation of a tune called A Few Bowls Turkish. This is a song that I played on a CD I recorded in 2009 for Zodic Records. I've done a series of recordings for Zodic, which is a label curated in New York City by John Zorn. John Zorn heard of some of my work in the back in the 90s, and he liked the eclecticism, my approach, and asked me if I'd be interested in arranging some traditional Jewish music for his Radical Jewish Culture series on Zodic. And in my case, it's very radical because I'm not Jewish. I'm a redneck from North Carolina. But I had experience playing a lot of Jewish music living in Minneapolis. And so I like the idea of the project, and it's had a profound effect on me in a lot of different levels, encountering Jewish culture and this beautiful music. So the project was both eclectic in repertoire because the Jewish civilization, due to the diaspora of the Jewish people, goes all over the world and touches on so many different cultures. Also, John Zorn encouraged me to be very eclectic in the palette I use to express the music and to improvise and jam on the music. So it has a real postmodern quality because I play blues licks, Middle Eastern licks, outside jazz licks. That aspect of it really influenced my playing over the last 10 years in kind of cultivating a very eclectic language. Now, there's a unifying factor in this language, which is I always am drawn to the soulfulness, the soul music of any place or group of people. And as I've traveled around the world or worked as a musician, I've been in many places, like a little bar in some neighborhood where every weekend everyone in the neighborhood comes together and they nurture their community and celebrate their community through their particular body of music. This has always attracted me, whether it's like at a Jewish wedding or a blues joint in the south side of Minneapolis, or a fado club in Lisbon. The list could go on, but everywhere you go in the world, you'll find a kind of a soul music, and that kind of heart in the music is what attracts me. So all these themes come together in these arrangements I've done for Zodic, and this particular one, A Few Bowl Turkish, might refer to the fact that Naftul Brandwine, who wrote this song, originally came to America in 1908 by way of Istanbul. And he started out in an area of Poland that was just north of the Carpathian Mountains of Romania. So he had a long journey, and by the time he got to New York, he already had a very eclectic palette himself. So we're going to explain some of the different elements before I give you the rundown on the tune. We'll start by playing the melody in first position. The melody in the original tune is voiced way up all above the 12th fret, with a lot of cross-picking, mixing fretted and open strings. But we'll start by familiarizing ourselves with the melody by playing it in first position and just using a simple bass note at the downbeat of each measure. The melody of this song is comprised of a scale that's known as the Fraigish mode in klezmer Jewish tradition, and it's known in Turkish and Arabic and Persian musical lexicons as a hajiz mode. It goes like this. There's a second part of the song that is in just a major scale. So now we'll play the melody in first position. Now we're going to create the arrangement that I play by moving this first position melody up to above the 12th fret. We're also going to employ a rhythm to create a fingerstyle setting. This rhythm comes from northeastern Brazil, and it's called baião. It's a rhythm that has a lot in common with a similar beat that's heard in North Africa, in the Mediterranean, and flamenco music, and gypsy music in Eastern Europe, and Middle Eastern music. We're going to learn the pattern first, a simple version of the pattern. We're playing the beats on the 6th, 5th, and 4th string with our thumb, making a partial D chord shape with our 2nd and 1st finger to create a pattern that's like this. It's a staggered, syncopated pattern. I like to explain it as being 3 pairs of notes. The first 2 pairs of notes are off against each other. The last pair are played together. So it's like so. Now this pattern goes throughout this song. Sometimes once you're used to playing the pattern and it's comfortable, it may just be played out just on one string. It all depends on where the melody's going and how it fits. But That's the basic rhythm. Now we're going to take this rhythm and the melody and we're going to put it together up here. So obviously wherever there's open strings, I'll be fretting those. And sometimes in the melody I'll be grabbing open strings because it creates a nice resonant harp-like quality. Earlier on I did a version of How Great Thou Art, and once again in places here I'm employing a double stop, this time mostly with my first finger, to fret notes that I'm playing and let the notes on the first string ring at the same time. Come to the second part of the melody that's major, I'm going to harmonize it in fourths on the mostly on the fourth and third string, then some on the fifth and fourth string, using double stops mostly with my first and third finger. And there's that Lenny Bro chord. This time we have a double stop with our third finger. Do that again. And you'll notice I'm just playing a simple pulse with my thumb. Moving on, we go. Put it all together. Then we move to the third section. Now what we're going to do is play a tag that's going to move down the neck in segments, like so. Do that one more time. Well, this part we really bring out some cool cross-picking harp-like qualities, and this is such a haunting scale that when you let it ring against each other, it really has a beautiful effect. Especially right there. So there's the head, the melody. Now I'll explain what I'm doing with some soloing ideas. The solo is going to transpire basically all on one tone. So we're just going to be a long jam on a D bass. So your thumb's just going to be rocking that out. And then I'll explain some of the ideas we got. I start out with there's some blues lines. So now I switch to some more of this Middle Eastern Hijaz scale, and that's a flavor of all this music is mixing some blues with some gypsy quality. So then I work my way back up. I play a little bit of a jazz scale that's based on a minor major chord. So it's like a major 7 with a raised 5th. I also play a couple of very out scales that they're not completely atonal. They're based on tritones, the tritone patterns. The first one. Then that goes into a whole tone scale. Then back into the Middle Eastern scale. See how that all goes together. I start out by going. Okay. Then I'm going to do a climb out using a series of based on intervals of a fourth. So my second finger is kind of guiding me, and I'm playing a melody. It's kind of like a pentatonic scale. Right? That's what's guiding me. And then I'm adding this this bar, so it's basically 3 notes on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. Whoops. All right, so watch how I do this. Then I'm going to go into the D major part of the scale, and I'm going to create some nice. I'm creating a chord vamp that's basically goes from D major 7. Then I'm playing a G minor 7 against D. Then a D minor 7. Then a G minor 7 against D. Then a D major 7. So it's like. Now this little melodic thing is something I always kind of just figure out, well, I've got my barred chord here, scales I can play against it. That's a D major scale. Then I move up to another, to the 5th fret and find a different voicing. There's D major 7, so I'm going to use a piece of it on the 3rd and 2nd strings. And I get this nice cluster because I got an F sharp against an E, open E. F sharp's on the 2nd string, 7th fret, E's on the 1st string, open. What that is you see I have this G minor 9th, so I find a voicing here of the same chord. And I'm getting a pedal tone because I'm going to have an open E through all 3 chords. It's kind of dissonant, but that gives me a kind of cool, tension that I like in this part. So I got that's an F major 7, but that can also be thought of as D minor 9. And then I add the open B and E. So together it goes. Then I'm going to play another version of it. I move back up to the around the 12th fret. So here I'm on the 11th fret. I'm fretting the at the 11th fret the 4th and 3rd string. So if I put that all together, I start here. And then we play the head back out. This song, Little Princess, is the title track of the CD I did for Zodic in 2009. That is a collection of interpretations of music of Naftul Brandwine. Naftul Brandwine called himself the king of the klezmer clarinet. And when he arrived in New York City in 1908, he established a reputation as a very flamboyant figure. He's known to have done things like dress in an Uncle Sam costume while wrapping himself in electric lights. He was a very crazy, cantankerous character. He only recorded about 25 singles under his own name, but they have become a kind of gold mine for the klezmer revival of the last 15 years. And this is a very beautiful song, Kleinen Prinzessin, Little Princess. One thing I'm doing here harmonically is I haven't touched on yet, but often when we arrange a song, we always think of making the chord. We find the root tone of the chord, then we build the chord from the bottom up. I use the principle to find interesting chords to color melodies by starting with the melody and then working downward. So often that leaves me not with the root in the bottom of the chord, but an inversion. But it helps me to find often some very beautiful chords to color the melodies. So let's look at this melody. This melody started out as a kind of a march. So it's got this kind of so I like the melody, and it just kind of struck me that if I change it into 3/4, give it a more open setting, it would give a different light on the melody. Because when I do an arrangement of a piece, I want to in some way have it light up on the guitar in a special way, and also be some meaningful tradition to the general body of songs and interpretations of a particular piece. It makes some contribution to what that melody is. So I also drew on some ideas from my arrangement of Wayfaring Stranger. You'll notice that the song starts with the same D sus, D7, G sus, G7. Also, I'm not going boom, chunk, chunk, boom, chunk, chunk, boom, chunk, chunk. The feeling of the melody I'm carrying by putting the rhythm more in the top line of the melody, and then some of the chords as they come underneath to create the feeling of the motion. Now we go to the second section of the melody. There's some double stopping going on here. You'll notice this is kind of a gnarly chord because I'm holding the F on my first finger on the 8th fret, 5th string, and then I'm got these two melody notes here. I'm double stopping with my 3rd finger. This is a very, to me, it's a very flamenco guitar kind of way to express this melody. Flamenco guitar players, I've noticed, often will put in a bar and then play a lot of melody off of that bar. It requires some building up some endurance in your left hand chops to do this kind of a sequence. If you look at the this is all pull-offs and hammer-ons. So you're going to play the and then you're going to plant your double stop to prepare that second note. So the third section is also what we hear as the intro to the song. Here's the melody line. I found that I could play this really nice moving counter melody. It starts on the third string. It's a C on third string, 5th fret, to open B, to B flat, third string, 3rd fret. So it's going da da. I also have that pull off that's important with my first finger. With my third finger, rather. And all that melody goes on the first string. Here's the solo. I for this solo, I'm not playing on a just a D vamp. I kind of created an architecture over the chord progression of the melody, but it's a little more freer and spacier than the arrangement of the melody per se. So it's like I take this scale, that's another version of that Frege melody that we used. And I'm also going to use some pentatonic. And the chord's going to go from a D to an E flat. And you'll see how cool this pentatonic sounds against the D pentatonic sounds against the E flat. So we start out with okay, so you might, here's our pentatonic. Okay, do the whole section again. Starts out with the klezmer gypsy scale. To the pentatonic. We go to the second part of the song where we, for the chords, I'm using a F sus, an E flat sus, a D minor, to a C sus. In each case, this chord is a simple bar. Essentially, I'm going to find a scale to go over this. Okay, to recap all of this, I will take us through the song one more time, very, very slowly.